Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com, your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now.
Welcome as we get rolling, and on this beautiful Tuesday or whenever you're listening, I remind you, please set your notifications on Twitter, Facebook, subscribe to YouTube, and also like us on YouTube so we can bring you more. So coming up on the program, Chris Landry at LandryFootball.com. We'll have some comments on Mr. Tellender, one of Tennessee's commitments over the weekend. And then also we'll have comments on John Slaughter. And coming up, how Cooper Manning got his name Cooper. I'm sorry, how Cooper Mays got his name Cooper from Cooper Manning. That's an interesting story. I'm not sure it's print worthy, Ethan, but it's interesting. And then thoughts on Nico as he continues to recruit for the Vols. But so I remind you, please subscribe and like, so you'll see us more often in your feed, because they say that YouTube's very intuitive is what I hear, Amanda. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. I'm well rested, so good to go.
Yep.
How are you?
I'm exceptionally happy and pleased. I showed your column that we're going to get into. That's going to post on offthehooksports.com if it hasn't already, depending on when you're listening. A really neat breakdown of 3 stars, and that they can be the foundation of a program and even more. Ethan, how are you, sir? I know you've got some semi-breaking news of a gentleman who is down to just 3 schools?
Yeah, Jeremiah Cobb, I believe he said last night that he's going to be down to 3 schools. That's Auburn, Clemson, and Tennessee. I wrote something about it, just went up. Should be available to read for anybody listening right now or whenever, because it's up early in the morning.
Good stuff. Want to welcome the Mattress Place on board. 22 years on Chapman Highway, Marine Corps veteran owned. They are an A+ Better Business Bureau member, over 225 5-star reviews on Google. The Mattress Place there on Chapman Highway. No need for a holiday. Their prices will beat other store prices every single day. Next day delivery and financing available. Got discounts for veterans, police, senior, and students, open 7 days a week. No gimmicks, just 30 to 70% off every day. So the NIL spotlight has apparently caught Miami as we get some news of the day. So it caught Tennessee with Nico and his commitment in March, when a story came out. And Amanda, the link was, Ethan, correct me if I'm wrong, but the link was never actually made between 8 million and Nico. Like, the stories came out on the same day, and we all believe that's the case, but it was never actually connected, so to speak. Well, now a very similar thing is happening at Miami, and it could have an impact on Tennessee. But before we get to that, Amanda, you may like, love, or hate the NIL, but the simple fact is now you have the University of Florida that's upset they lost out on a quarterback prospect, Jaden Rashada, and they're claiming it was all because of money. Sounds like Jimbo Fisher. The bottom line is this is all legal. It may not be right. You may think the speed limit should be 35 when it's 55. But, Amanda, that's just where we are.
I don't think I'd ever think should be 35 when it's 55, maybe 75 when it's 55, but that's just me. No, it's the NIL is tricky, and honestly, this is what we get with the NCAA going 0 to full throttle on this thing, where players could get nothing, and now all of a sudden, the sky's the limit. So I think what other schools are trying to do, even, Nick Saban and maybe Florida, I think what they're trying to do is really bring attention to the fact that this is getting out of hand very fast. We're talking about 8 million. Now we're talking about 9.5 million. it's getting out of hand, and the NCAA needs to hone it on in and do something different, because there are literally no rules to this thing. There are no rules to this thing. So
No,
it makes no sense.
and there's a lot of these collectives out there, Ethan, that I mean, let's be real honest. I mean, they're saying they want to help the schools and they want to help the kids. They want to make money. I mean, let's be real frank. I mean, but that's one of the collectives that is involved in this Miami thing. I don't think these collectives, and I know we talked about the spy group, I don't think they 100% know what they are supposed to be yet.
I think it's very possible. And kind of going to Amanda's point, something that's very interesting about this, obviously, the backstory, Miami getting this quarterback, supposedly from Florida, saying that they just recruit him better and all of that. He's a 4-star guy. This isn't even a top of the line, like, Arch Manning type recruit. This is, I mean, 4-star, good stuff. He's probably a very good quarterback. He's a 4-star guy. He's not the top of the line guys. He's not a top 5 player nationally. If they're going to give that money to him, and that just happened to be the specific program that he wanted to go to, not to mention in this article I read about it, they said that Florida offered him more and that he actually just wanted to go to Miami. And it's like, okay, so there's, I guess, slight, not ethics is the word, but, I want to go where I want to go instead of I just want to go with all the money. But I'm also getting $9.5 million. So it kind of makes the decision a little bit easier. I mean, that is just insane when you put it into that perspective. I've seen a lot of, I guess, things on Twitter, things, I guess, throughout the news world saying that NIL is more complex than we, I guess, as average readers can even really imagine, and that it's only going to get worse from here. And so I would agree with what Amanda said. I think she hit it on the head that it's just kind of a lawless land right now, and it's not going to get any better.
Nope.
Yeah, and we're involved in the NIL game. I make no bones about it. I mean, we do because I think they're worth it. We do pay Jacob Warren and Cooper Mays for weekly appearances, and it's something we don't shy away from because I think the kids deserve it. Now, do I think a kid deserves $8 million before he steps on campus? Probably not. That's we're talking about two different things there. But how does this affect Tennessee? Well, I'm going to tell you because I was talking to Chris Landry yesterday, and he said that he hears Miami is making the hard push for Francis Maligawa. How I did on that, Ethan? Can I get a thumbs up?
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, I'll take it. So, the offensive tackle out of IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. So maybe Miami has that quarterback to build around, not as highly rated as Nico, but Ethan, that does affect Tennessee in the whole Francis recruitment, which I know he's as coveted a player on Tennessee's board as anybody else.
I would say to a certain extent it does. We also have to remember the thing I said from that article I read that this quarterback, forgive me, I forget his name, started with an R, 4-star guy. He supposedly picked Miami. Yeah, he supposedly picked Miami because he wanted to go to Miami over Florida, which reportedly, I'll put a retroactive allegedly on this, that reportedly Florida was offering him more money. So maybe that has a little something to play into it. And it's going to vary person to person. Obviously, Francis Maligoa, he could want to go to Florida for the money. He could also just want to go to Tennessee because he believes in the system. Because while a lot of these guys are, I feel like, chasing a paycheck and chasing, this is where I want to go that can best prepare me for the NFL, there are some people that their motives are different. And we just don't know anything about Francis Maligoa, about which he's going to pick. So it's hard to judge person to person.
Well, Amanda, with all of these guys coming in and getting this guaranteed money before they play a snap in college football, before they ever actually have an official jersey, I think in some shape, form, or fashion needs to be stopped. However, how do you put the toothpaste back in the tube? Because if you go back and say, all right, no more paying players until they're actually on campus and they can provide a legitimate service to a client, i.e. advertiser, someone in marketing. But it's out of the tube. So then it's just going to go under the table. I don't understand how you backstep that. I don't know that it's possible.
I mean, I think you have to. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to set some kind of laws and boundaries on this thing, because it's just getting out of hand. But what I don't understand about this whole thing is the school's making all the money off of these players, yada, yada, yada. The schools aren't paying anything. They're not paying anything for these players. They're still not paying anything. So with the whole NCAA, they're doing exactly the opposite of what they went for years preaching against, and that was boosters giving players money. They kept saying it's unfair, it's unfair. Some universities have more boosters, some have, richer boosters, blah, 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 blah. We've turned around, and not only have we made it, preferred, or that's now the way it's going to be handled, we have set no limits on this thing. So NCAA has literally cut off its nose to spite its face.
Well, and you've told the kids too, Ethan, that they are worth this. Now, as I've pointed out in a column on offthehooksports.com, I think the market will bear this out, what a 5-star quarterback is worth, or a 4-star quarterback. I think in the end, the market will bear it out. And I think you're going to see businesses start to wait until the kids are proven in college. I think that's what will naturally happen. However, at the same time, if I'm a prospect and I saw the class before me, let's say they put in legislation tomorrow, and I see the class before me getting these $8 million and $9 million agreements to come to the university, I'm sure as heck going to ask.
Yeah, it's the same reason I guess two friends don't discuss how much money they make. It's, you can look back if you're one of these recruits and you can say, hey, that guy, 4-star quarterback, made $9.5 million at going to the University of Miami. I'm a 5-star guy. I want 12. And we're just going to keep playing this game round and round. It's just going to keep going up. That's never going to go down. And eventually, I'm not saying right now, or maybe even within the next 5 years, if this keeps happening like this, which I doubt it will, eventually these groups are going to be like, hey, this is a lot of money. And you guys are telling me, under the table, hey, go over here and go get this guy. We're like, hey, this is a lot of money. I'm not sure I care anymore. The success isn't exactly panning out here, because what if this Miami quarterback, this 4-star guy, goes in and the fear that we've had all along, he tears his ACL. And then the blah, blah sports group has paid this guy $9.5 million. They're going to start getting a little angry, and they're not going to pay that much in the future. But people are going to want that money in the future. I don't know. It's just a circle. I feel like that's going to become even more of a problem here in a bit.
Yeah, I mean, once you lay a price on it, but the price is going to be there whether or not it's technically legal or not.
I wonder how the kids are going to play after they already receive $9.5 million just to step on the campus. Like, are you, with right now in college, you play to make it to the NFL. You lay everything out on the field to make it that next step, to be the best that you can be, and to get to the NFL where you make all this money. You're handing these kids millions of dollars to walk on the field. If I were the kid, why wouldn't I just go out in the field and be like, all right, I'm here. Give me my $9 million. I'm out. See ya. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? You have to have a love for the game, or at least love for being famous or something like that, to motivate you to want to make it to that next step. If not, I mean, you're handing a kid $9 million. There we go. And we're done.
No, there are all kinds of potential problems in the NIL issue. I want to get to today's poll question, a couple of other quick news and notes. The news today is brought to you by our friends at Midnight Oil Service and Tire Direct. That's Steve Ray's Midnight Oil Service and Tire Direct. He is awesome in Noodlewall, first choice in tires, auto repair, and regular vehicle maintenance, such as oil changes, wheel alignments, and brake repair. They always keep the customer service and safety in mind. Expect the highest quality at Steve Ray's Midnight Oil Service and Tire Direct. And right next door, you can go to Owl's Nest Barbecue. And Owl's Nest Barbecue is absolutely fantastic when it comes to your barbecue supplies, whether you need the rubs, whether you need the smoking pellets, whether you need the wood chips, the sauce, whatever you need, it's all right there, or the grill. They've got some awesome grills as well. So certainly check them out right there in Oodlewall. Go to owlsnestbarbecue.com. So, guys, thoughts on a poll question? And I kind of was going to string this together a little bit. We had Kyrie Irving that decides to stay with the Nets. So a bittersweet day for Nets fans. You keep a super talented player, but you keep a guy that has crazy time ego and maybe functionally insane. So you keep him, and I'm curious. Well, he's a flat earther, right? You know, a flat earther.
That's perfectly fine. But that whole vaccine thing, he stood up for what he believed in.
I'm not going to get into the vaccine thing at all.
Well,
but today's,
I appreciate him standing up.
Okay, good. All right, today's poll question is, maybe not even as interactive, but I just ask you guys, what's a player throughout your sports fandom that you just hated rooting for? Because if I'm a Nets fan, I'm like, oh boy, we got Kyrie back. And I'm like, oh man, got Kyrie back. So mine's pretty easy because I thought he would always choke in the clutch, and I proved to be true. And now I have to see the guy like every Sunday afternoon. It was Tony Romo. I was actually at the game with Bill Parcells, the last game of the season, and they're chanting Romo, Romo, and half the people didn't know who that guy was because Drew Bledsoe was a starter, and they wanted to replace Bledsoe. And I knew who Romo was. Got to watch Romo. Remember the botched snap for the win at Seattle. And I was like, man, he's got 10 years left. Ethan's laughing at me. I was like, this dude's got 10 years left, and I'm going to have to continue to watch him. So, Ethan, anybody like that fall in that category for you?
See, not particularly. The best I could think of is I'm a Utah Jazz fan, and I mean Karl Malone has to come to mind. I never watched him play, but I mean that's got to be the guy you pick, right? he's not a good human being, but still, when it comes down to it, you got to be like, yeah, Karl Malone played for the Jazz, and he's one of the all-time greats, but he's also a very awful human being. So.
Yeah, there's like an abandoned child and all kinds of stuff. And Malone also, I wonder if he has the Grand Slam of sheep right now. Do you know what that is, Amanda? Do you know what the Grand Slam of sheep is?
No.
When I interviewed Karl Malone, he opened a sporting goods store in Gatlinburg. He was one sheep away from the Grand Slam of sheep. And that's when you this is true.
What?
And you got they're on 4 different continents, and you have to hike like 10 miles to get to them. And then you kill that sheep, and there's only like like a few hundred people that's in the Grand Slam of sheep. They've killed that particular sheep.
So just like a couple hundred people or whatever that are douchebags, or
The Grand Slam of sheep. That's a real thing. 4 different North American wild sheep. So I guess they're all in the same country. The Dollstone Bighorn and Desert Bighorn. That breakdown of your sheep brought to you by Zool Beer Company. What's going on at Zool Beer Company there, Amanda?
So everything's going on. We actually just ran out of the gold medal in the World Cup. We ran out of that beer on draft. We just recently ran out. So we still have it in 4-packs, I believe. So if you can get down there to get that, get down there to get that.
Good stuff. Check them out. They've got the big panoramic view. It's an awesome place, Zool Beer Company, to hang out. What was our poll question yesterday, Ethan? Do you recall that one? I know that I got a good spark of people that were very intrigued about the 100K. We did that one. So Tennessee will stay over 100K with some switching around of seats and such at Neyland Stadium. So that was pretty
I know
strong.
what it was.
What do we have yesterday?
Yeah.
It was that, are you happy with Tennessee recruiting this past weekend as it stands today?
Okay, so what do we get on that as of Monday? Tennessee got 2 3-star commitments. They didn't get the Maui Goas of the world, the highly, highly rated guys that they coveted, but they will announce, at least Francis will, on July the 4th. So what did we get on that? Are people happy? By the way, we had Ryan Callahan on. He said Tennessee fans should be very happy about the weekend. I guess I saw 2 3-star prospects, and it didn't blow me out of the water, but I've kind of changed my tune. Ethan, what did we hear from the faithful following on the Twitter?
Yeah, it was pretty shocking. It's 93-7 for yes, they believe it was a good weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just one-sided.
I think not polarizing, the most one-sided we've had yet.
Yeah. So, well, Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee.
Well, I mean, there are big 3 stars out there, and I'm not gonna give all of them away. But in the column coming out, you wouldn't believe the names, the big names in the NFL at the moment that were 3-star recruits.
Yeah.
One of them, 2 of them are Aaron's. Just FYI, Aaron's. The end. Okay.
I mean, the second best player on Tennessee's team wasn't even a 3-star; he was a 2-star. It was Cedric Tillman. I think I've said that already. I go back to that every single time someone says a 3-star can't be good. Cedric Tillman is not a 3-star, 2-star prospect. That guy, I'm not sure who missed the train on that one, but
I used to a few years ago, Ethan. I used to really take the star ratings with a grain of salt because I knew that certain websites would get their guys boosted because they had more subscribers than other websites. So player X commits to school X. Well, website X calls the national guys and says, hey, can we get another star put on this guy? So that's kind of how it worked. And I don't think that's as bad in the past few years. I think it's a little bit more by the board. Would you agree with that? I mean, for the most part, I mean, to me, a 3-star guy is a somewhere guy. You know, he's going to have a scholarship, 4-star, more options, 5 stars than anywhere guy.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's okay. Vols Automotive Group on Callahan is where car shopping is made easy at Vols Automotive. It's their mission to be the automotive home of drivers in the Knoxville, Tennessee area. They provide a vast selection of used vehicles, exceptional car care, and customer service with a smile. Their local dealership keeps a great stock of used cars, trucks, and SUVs in inventory. They've got competitive prices they offer on every pre-owned model, so check them out. They've got financing, and they keep you going with an excellent service department. So coming back, a breakdown of John Slaughter, one of Tennessee's newest commitments, as we visited with Chris Landry about Slaughter after the commitment. And also, why is Cooper Mays named after Cooper Manning? Just doesn't sound right. And Nico killing it on the recruiting trail. More after this with Amanda, Ethan. I'm Dave Hooker, back in 2 minutes.
To own the more that owns every job, then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
This is Al's Nest Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus a complete line of Green Mountain grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food, and we'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Excited that we will have some prizes to give away from our friends at Owl's Nest. And now it's time for Talking Cruton. Talking Cruton brought to you by Big Orange Phillies. Go to Big Orange Phillies right there in the middle of Halls. And it's a very easy drive for those of you up in Maynardville. They've got the quick bites. They know it's tough to get out of the office for a long lunch. So you can get something cold from the fridge or order hot food from the counter. They've got fresh ingredients. Casual shouldn't mean stale. And stay a while. They've got the darts, billiards, live entertainment, and karaoke. And please, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. And we certainly appreciate that. So more of our content gets your way. So we're talking 3 stars. Amanda, give us a little tease of the column. So you found 3 stars that are all NFL top players before we get to Talking Cruton, brought to you by Big Orange Phillies. Tennessee picks up 3 stars over the weekend. And what are the 3 stars you found that have gone on to probably, well, in 2 cases, 1.5 cases, a Hall of Fame NFL career?
Oh, there's 2 Hall of Fame NFL careers.
I think
They're
you could
both.
argue if Aaron Donald retired in the offseason like he joked about, now he signed a new contract. I think you could argue that his career was too short, but I'm not arguing that. 2 at least. Sorry,
No,
go ahead.
there's at least 2. I mean, you have the best offensive player in the game and the best defensive player in the NFL, both of them. It's not even, I mean, really a competition. Aaron Rodgers was a 3-star.
So I butchered it. Reset the 3 names so we all know. I butchered it. Go ahead.
You didn't. Aaron Rodgers was a 3-star. Aaron Donald was a 3-star. And so is Josh Jacobs.
So that's 100% Hall of Fame, 99% Hall of Fame, and Josh Jacobs, one of the better young players in the NFL.
As of now, yeah. I mean, it's insane. If you're just talking fantasy football, I mean, I know most people don't do defensive players, but if you're talking fantasy football, that's 2 first-round picks right there.
Yeah.
Ethan, is there one of those out of that group that surprises you the most? I guess mine would be, I'm not surprised by Donald because I think it could have been viewed as a little bit of a tweener. He was probably, 250 pounds coming out of high school?
That's what they called him, a tweener.
Did they? All right. Well, that was me guessing. I don't know. I wouldn't know where you would play him. He plays at about 268 now. Rodgers, we have seen quarterbacks like Carson Wentz go the smaller school route and blossom late. Rodgers didn't go smaller school, but he did blossom late. I'm not really surprised by Jacobs.
I'm surprised by Jacobs.
Weirdly enough, Jacobs is the one I'm the most surprised about because, I mean, he went to Alabama.
Yeah.
3 stars don't really get much shine at Alabama, so I would not have guessed. Maybe not surprised is the right word. Would have guessed it out of those 3. I would have. I mean, because Aaron Rodgers, you can say, because didn't he he went to JUCO, I think. So that doesn't surprise me really. And then I think he was JUCO. I think he was JUCO before Cal.
Okay, maybe
pretty sure. And then Aaron Donald for the reasons Dave said, and then I mean Josh Jacobs of the 3, I would have guessed that he would have been a 4-star just because he went to Alabama. That reason alone, because I know he got good playing time at Alabama, and so I just wouldn't have guessed it because I obviously don't know the amount of stars Josh Jacobs has before today. So
yeah,
he went to Butte Community College.
Rodgers
did. So there in beautiful Chico, California, before he went on to Cal. He also had that Tedford label. If you guys remember, Jeff Tedford had a lot of guys who didn't pan out in the NFL, and that worked against him. I can still remember seeing that visual of Aaron Rodgers sitting in the draft room and not getting picked. That was pretty brutal. So we did have, and I want to encourage you to check us out on YouTube because we've got extra content there, but we did have one Chris Landry to talk about John Slaughter, who is a 3-star defensive back committed to Tennessee, along with Jeremiah Tellender, who is a linebacker. So help on the defensive side. And Chris Landry at LandryFootball.com was surprised when he turned on the tape and took a look at Slaughter that more teams weren't on board. And the team that just hurts the absolute most, think 2009 and some guy that his name rhymes with train. Maybe. Here is Chris Landry But first, I'll set it up properly. We're talking Cruton.
Talking Cruton.
Am I right or am I right or am I right?
Who's on Tennessee's board? The names you need to know exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
All right, so here's Chris Landry talking about one John Slaughter, one of Tennessee's recent commitments. The other commitment that Tennessee picked up, again, a three-star guy, and Tennessee did like him, and I've heard from some other recruiting analysts that they were a little surprised more schools weren't involved. Tell us what you know about John Slaughter in the defensive backfield.
Well, when I looked at him on tape, I was surprised that he's not ranked a little bit higher. He's the kid from South Haven, Mississippi High School. Ole Miss is just devastated. That was a priority get for them. So that's the one school that big school that, the Kentuckys, and you're right, not a lot of bigger schools offer him. But you know what? He can be the hybrid linebacker in that role when they need to play him, which is, to me, he's got enough size to do that. His strength is his natural ability in the deep middle of the field. He's got versatility. I think he plays the ball well. He's a naturally athletic guy. He shows good lateral agility. He can jump, high point the ball, like his eye-hand coordination. And, he's just a jack of all trades. He's 6'2", 200. I see him as a 212, 215-pound guy who is, again, good enough to be in that hybrid role and maybe be in some run situations. But and that's some of what they do. They interchange guys. But, he's a deep secondary defender that's got some versatility. What's not to like about the guy? I'm really surprised that, I guess the evaluation by some of the bigger schools weren't a little bit higher. I see him as a guy that would be more of a 4-star looking type of guy, to use that vernacular. And again, I don't grade him with stars, but I'm a little bit surprised. Like Alabama got a big time commitment this weekend. They recruited a different level, but this guy has great versatility, and I think it's a pretty good get for Tennessee personally.
Yeah, so Ole Miss. I want to change. Can I change up the poll question, Ethan? I'll totally change it up. It's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, new poll question. Let's post this one for real and get some response on this. What team do you like to stick it to most in recruiting?
This is already better in my opinion.
Agreed. So you can just Alabama, Georgia, and just when you put Ole Miss with Lane. And then
Florida.
Well, yeah, Florida. I would almost put Florida over Alabama, just because Bama's such a powerhouse. I don't know. That's hard.
Phrase this. Let's phrase this.
I guess we could have 4. What are we doing here? We only have 3.
We got 4. We can do 4 on
Let's
the
do
Twitter,
all
right?
4.
Okay, so we'll do Alabama. Yeah. We'll say let's lead it with John Slaughter picked Tennessee over Ole Miss. What SEC program do you most like to stick it to in recruiting?
You would say which one would you like to which SEC program would you like to steal their recruits the most? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like when they're guaranteed to go to like when Rashaan Evans is guaranteed to go to Auburn, and Alabama came in last minute and he signed with Alabama. That was a good moment for all of the Alabama fans. We enjoyed that thoroughly.
We'll let Ethan make the call. Stick it to or steal from?
Heard.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way,
well, what are we going with? Which one are we going with, Ethan?
I think I like stick it to better. No offense to whoever didn't pick that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
By the way, Cam Sutton was a 3-star at UT.
That's true.
We're talking defensive players who are 3 stars that for UT, Cam Sutton was one.
Okay, so what do you if you're a Tennessee fan, what program do you most want to stick it to in recruiting? A, and then B, what do you think the fans will say? Amanda, I'll start with you.
As far as sticking it to in recruiting, I'm going to say fans will say probably Alabama, honestly, because of where Alabama is in recruiting and how they're always, not always, but most of the time they're in the, if they're not number one, they're in the top 5 at least every year. So I think that when you can steal something from Alabama, when they're the halves of the college football world, I think you're going to choose that school. It doesn't hurt that you're, a big rival.
I would actually say Georgia, just because they're in the East. And I think you'll have some people that will respond, especially by the way we're setting it up, Ethan. You'll have some people respond that will say, because of Lane, they'll say Ole Miss. But I think Georgia, if you can get yourself to number 1 in the East, considering what Georgia is, you've done something really, really special.
I think I would I'm going to walk back on what I said a little bit ago and say Alabama is probably a very close second, but I think I would go with Georgia as well for the reason you named, just because they're in the East. Like, I feel like Tennessee and Alabama are just on such another, a different echelon when it comes to recruiting that, Georgia is as well, but I feel like not to the level of Alabama. Like, Alabama can just get whoever they want. Georgia, for the most part, can get whoever they want, but not always. And so you see Tennessee, I feel like, stealing recruits from Georgia more that matter, because it's also I feel like Georgia's more of a hotbed for recruits, Atlanta, that area, more than Montgomery, Alabama, say. So I would go Georgia just barely over Bama.
Gotcha. Again, what do you think fans will say though? I think Ole Miss will have a stronger
I think it'll be Georgia. I think for all the reasons I just said, it'll be. I think people will agree with me and you and say Georgia.
Or maybe Florida, because they hate Florida the most. Who knows?
They do hate Florida, but this is also a kind of recency bias thing. So I feel like people won't say Florida right now because they're reeling. they're really not doing too well at the moment, especially with this whole Miami thing that just came out that we talked about a bit ago, that 4-star. They seem to kind of be in shambles down there in Gainesville.
Don't you like the fact, if you're a Tennessee fan, that you're not one of the teams that is all emotional over getting a prospect stolen from you? I mean, again, this is all legal, but there you have Jimbo Fisher getting all hurt over, Nick Saban calling him out. Now you have Florida getting all hurt over losing a guy to Miami. I would rather be the guy who's pushing the rules than the guy who's complaining about the guy who's pushing the rules. Does that make sense, Amanda?
Are you serious?
Yes, I would rather be the guy pushing the rules as opposed to the other guy who's saying that Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s restrictor plate's too wide. That's not what I'm wanting. You were at a NASCAR race over the weekend.
Yes, I was.
You ain't breaking the rules. You ain't trying.
Robin's racing, okay? But anything.
Robin is racing.
But you say that Tennessee fans aren't going to get emotional about recruiting?
No, I'm just saying I would rather be the team that's pointed to as, hey, they are towing the line, pushing the limit, going ballistic math, whatever they're doing, as opposed to the other team that's just whining about it. I would rather be Tennessee or Miami than to be Florida or Texas A&M. Is that making any sense, Ethan?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean,
yeah, but it depends on if you're whining or if you're just legitimately trying to call attention of the NCAA to, hey, this is getting out of control, do something.
I guess the better way to phrase what he's saying is Tennessee doesn't really have a problem right now. There are other schools that have problems. Tennessee, at the moment, doesn't have much of a problem, I would say. I mean, because they got Nico. I guess, you can talk about the $8 million that is supposedly, allegedly, tied to Nico. But you have Nico. You have a 5-star. You got a couple 4-star guys in Davis and Herring. You're feeling pretty good about where your 2023 cycle is going as of right now.
A big part of that's Nico, and comments about Nico from Chris Landry, brought to you by the Mattress Place. Like and subscribe for more on our YouTube channel. But here's the impact that Nico's having per Chris Landry on our Chalk Talk segment, Chris Landry talking Nico's impact on Tennessee recruiting, because had an opportunity to hear some comments from Nico, the 5-star quarterback out of California. And I'll tell you what, if he's recruiting half as hard as he says he is, he's doing a fantastic job for Tennessee. And I look back at the history of it. Tennessee picks up about 4 commitments right after he committed in March, and they pick up 2 when he's on campus this weekend. I do believe he's having a tangible effect on this class. Chris, am I wrong?
No, I think he is, and it's hard to know behind the scenes, but it's either that or a coincidence, and the fact that he's such a highly regarded quarterback, and kind of a beacon light of, hey, look, it's cool, it's chic to come to Knoxville again, and getting other top players. When you're a top guy, these kids all know the names, even at other positions, who the best players are. When you have a guy like Nico come in and say he's an elite player, and you're a really good player, and you don't maybe have the notoriety, you tend to listen, and you tend to take that more to heart. So I think he's having a positive impact, and certainly with Francis Mayoga is someone that he hopes to get in. But others that he's already got in, I think he's had an effect. He's the best recruiters are your players, and the players that are on your team. But certainly when you get a guy like that, I think he's having a big impact.
And you talk about Francis, the offensive tackle out of IMG Academy, visited Tennessee this past weekend, and Tennessee looks to be in pretty good shape for him. We'll see. He's going to announce on July the 4th. So there we go. That is Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com, as you can check him out. And if you're listening, then you're not seeing me try to manage some of the videos, but you might start hearing Amanda laugh at me.
I'm sorry.
So that's why you need to go. If you're one of the many hundreds that are thousands that are listening on just the audio,
man.
you need to go to YouTube just to see me just totally manhandle the video on
podcast. It's worse than you
gonna
trying to pronounce Nico's name.
Nico Iamuleva.
Oh,
Iamuleva. I got it. I went over it with Greg Biggins, and he said I had it right.
There's one more vowel in there.
Iamuleva.
Just call him Nico.
Iamuleva. No, I don't think there is. I don't think there is an Iamuleva.
Iamuleva. There's a lot of vowels that make different sounds.
How much time have we spent trying to pronounce this guy's name?
I'm just going Nico.
At least an hour at this point.
Thank you. Nico. After 2 weeks.
Yes. So we have determined that the 3-star prospects like John Sauter and Jeremiah Tellender can have an impact. And I love the one that Ethan brought up about Ethan Stone. I have no idea why Cedric Tillman. Do you recall anything from his recruitment? Why he was just a 2-star guy? I mean,
no, I really. Sorry, something in my throat. I really don't. The only thing I really know about Cedric Tillman beforehand is obviously that he was a 2-star. He came out of the same high school as Will Stallings, a recent Tennessee running back commit. And so if you want to kind of look at that pipeline and say Will Stallings is going to be a beast too and that he's underrepresented, then feel free to do so. I'm not sure I'd make that leap, but I didn't know that much about Cedric Tillman before, and I feel like that's the point. Nobody really did, but he still came out of nowhere, and he's one of the most dominant wide receivers in the SEC right now.
So we settled on that poll question. Repeat that for those that want to take part in our poll question that's on the Twitter.
Yeah, let me find it real fast. It was, who do you prefer sticking it to in recruitment more between Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss, and Georgia? We've already got a heavy leader as of right now. It's Alabama at 60%.
Whoa!
Hey,
less than 10 minutes in.
Yeah. So, but I tell you what, especially after those Alabama-Auburn games, there are some fans of those two schools that could use some CBD treats. Well, they have those at crafttreats.com. It'll bring them down a little bit.
For sure.
Amanda, you always hear of an Alabama or Auburn family member getting shot after an Alabama-Auburn game.
Okay, you don't always hear
You
about
do
it.
every year.
I thought that was
Google
Talladega.
and Sunday after the Iron Bowl, and there will be an Auburn or Alabama fan shot.
They don't always die, okay? They don't always die.
It's just a wound.
It's just a flesh wound. They'll
just
get
a
over
flesh
it.
wound.
It'll be all right. They'll move on. They learn their lesson.
Tell you what'll help you with that pain is the pain reduction there at Craft Treats. Typically they're for pets, but if you get shot by a 22 in the arm and you need something right there, and the Craft Treats is sitting there, I'm going to go for it. And
22 is not going to do anything.
Scared of you. Full spectrum CBD treat. So it contains minor cannabinoids that increase the benefits of CBD. So situational anxiety for your pet, car ride, storm anxiety, but the anti-inflammatory properties are awesome as well. And they've got pain reduction benefits that will help for those older dogs that might have been shot. Actually, don't think.
Okay, don't shoot your dog. Do not shoot.
So you can shoot an Alabama or Auburn fan, but you can't shoot a dog.
Look, a dog can't talk back. When the Auburn fans start running the mouth, I mean,
I just don't know, Ethan, ultimately why anybody would run their mouth towards Alabama at all right now. I mean, maybe that changes at one point, but even Georgia won the national title and lost to them last year. And who would you bet on this year? I mean, I don't know why anybody talks trash to Alabama ever.
There was a brief moment in like 2018-19 where you thought the power was shifting in favor of Clemson. I don't know if any of you guys remember that. Alabama was kind of the king for a while, and Clemson beat them one year, and it just felt like, man, Clemson, Sweeney, they're on a roll right now. And then the next year they just were not good, and they are not good anymore. Like they just have totally fell off a cliff because they've lost their amazing quarterback play, and Alabama has just been able to retain that. So I would say yes, Alabama is the king right now, and there's not really a close second, maybe Georgia. But you got to say, hey, you got to come back with the greatest defense of all time this season, or you're just going to be one step behind.
They beat the dog mess out of us. I mean, the dog mess. I remember watching that game and just being completely deflated.
Yeah.
I mean, the dog mess out of us. Clemson made us like they were our daddy. Like, seriously.
It's one of the only times, and you have to think about in my lifetime, Alabama's been good ever since I started watching football. And it's one of the only times I've seen them just get run up and down the field. And I was like, okay, the power's shifting here. You gotta respect what Sweeney and what Clemson are doing right now. And it just did not work out the way I thought it would.
It hurts.
Well, that defensive front for Clemson was pretty once in a generation top.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me a little bit, not to always tie it back to the loss, but the 98 defensive front for Tennessee that was all recruited out of the Carolinas. Reminded me of those guys a little bit. I mean, that was a really, really good group. But you're right. It took a generational type of defensive line, or it took a generational type of defense to beat Alabama. And generational, by definition, means every 25 years. So I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But we'll see ultimately if Nick Saban wants to keep rolling after this year. We'll see.
Yeah,
I could see us. You don't think Nick Saban, you think this is the last year for Nick Saban? Are you on record of that?
Wow.
I'm on record.
That's crazy.
Somebody might have brought that up to me, and I might have asked around, and I might have heard the same thing.
I mean, it makes sense. I think he is sick and tired of this NIL stuff, and not to mention he's getting pretty old as well. So
first of all, he's not
definitely
old.
See it. Well, I mean, he's not old, but he's getting up there. He's been coaching for a while.
Yeah, pretty old.
52.
He's not 90 or anything, obviously, but he's getting up there. He's been doing this a long time.
He looks 52.
What I was told is that this person, because somebody got me thinking, but this person actually could see a scenario where this team is so good that he rides off into the sunset with I'll use the word generational too much, but a generational defensive end, a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, and Yeah, and all of that, and this could be, this could be the year where he walks off. Now, the other thing that I heard is that he may want to hold on until 2026 because he would play West Virginia, and he is from West Virginia. So I've been told that that is kind of a culmination or something that he is thinking about. Now, 2026 is a long ways away.
Yeah,
Guys. That's 4 years.
He'll withstand more of this NIL stuff just so he can beat West Virginia 41-3.
Yeah, I mean,
hold on. Please hold on.
I guess to wrap those two thoughts up, I think that he was probably thinking that West Virginia would be neat to go there. Very underrated place to see a game, by the way.
Oh,
Very underrated. And I think that he thought, show up there, show what I did at Alabama. This is awesome. It's a great time to ride off in the sunset. But I think with the NIL, that's changed things a little bit because it's just goofy. So as I remind you, like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. And then there's these comments from one Cooper Mays, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. They provided East Tennesseans with honest, dependable heating and cooling service. I think you'll like this. Cooper Mays has integrity. He does. But he also has a name that's just kind of out of left field. He was actually, in some shape, form, or fashion, named after Cooper Manning. Follow with me here, kids, but you can listen to the Vol Report with Cooper Manning, brought to you by City Heat and Air. It's on our YouTube page.
Cooper Mays.
Cooper Mays.
Cooper Mays, not Cooper Manning.
Okay.
I think he was okay. I see what you're doing.
Yeah. So here's Cooper Mays, brought to you by City Heat and Air.
So Cooper Manning told his mom that he had found, like he saw the girl that he was going to marry, and that was my mom. So based off of, I guess based off of looks, that was what spurred the comment on. And then Miss Manning came over to my mom and told her, and she was like, basically what she got out of it was she wanted the name. I guess not the guy.
I gotcha. So you're named after a guy that happens to be part of the biggest football family at all times and thinks your mom is super good looking.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad we boiled all that down into one little statement.
There's a lot of layers there. It's like an onion.
It's like we could just, I don't want to go any deeper in that onion. What I do want to ask you about, because Amanda Sten. So yeah, I was referencing Amanda. I don't know what I was saying about you. Do you want to go back to that? Oh, let's go back to Amanda LaFratta. I'm sorry about that. Amanda LaFratta, who joins us each and every day on Off the Hook Sports. She is actually doing some research into the number of 3-stars that go on to have success. And you weren't the highest rated guy in the world, but here you are locked in as a starter, and things have gone well for you. And I know that's had a chip on your shoulder at some point, but what do you think about how fans view 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars?
I would say they overreact about it. I would say, like me, I could honestly say to you, like when all these kids come in that are new recruits, I have no idea what their star rating was or, what they were. Like, obviously, like there's obviously going to be some outliers. Like you hear about like people like Nico. Like I know he's highly recruited, but like highly rated. But other than that, I mean, kids just get there. Like this is how I look at it, and all of my teammates look at it. They get there, and then after the first few workouts and maybe a couple practices, you make up a little rating system in your own mind. You're like, oh, that kid's, you look at him and you're like, oh, he's the real deal, or oh, he's not. You never say anything, like nobody knows anything about stars. It just doesn't really matter, and it doesn't really come into play.
Let me tell you the three levels from just my history of covering football. There's player, there's just a guy, there's a donkey. Those are the 3 levels of college football players. Seriously, that's how they're referred. Yeah, he's a player. He can play. Yeah, and then there's the guy. Yeah, he's pretty good. And then there's, and that means that guy's just a donkey and can't play. And that term is used pretty. I love the term donkey. because we can't get away with a lot of the terms we've used in the past, but we can still use donkey, and it's politically correct. Is it a horse or a mule, Amanda? I don't know.
I don't know, but I want to look up Cooper May's mom
to see if she's hot.
I want to see what she looks like. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
how many people are gonna go and now Google Cooper May's mom just to see what she looks like? Everybody's gonna do it.
Man, the pressure's on.
I mean, my gosh, if you're a Manning, you've seen a lot of pretty people. So I'm imagining this lady's got to be pretty stellar looking to get his attention.
I imagine she is, but I just wonder, if she looked at maybe Peyton and said,
"No thanks." Sorry.
Program today brought to you by Vassy Lawn and Garden Center. Vassy Lawn and Garden Center in Cleveland. Man alive, it's worth the drive. Toro, count on it. They've got the commercial and residential zero-turn mowers, lawn tractors, commercial wide area mowers. They've got it all. They're awesome. Check out Vassy Lawn and Garden. Go to Vassy.com. 0% APR for up to 48 months. 3.99% for 60 months on the spot financing. So stop in today. Ethan, we have countdowns and good stuff going on offthehooksports.com. We have Amanda's column on a look at 3 stars. We'll have an evaluation of one John Sauter. What else we got going up there? I know you've been working on a really a Ben Joyce piece that I'm really excited to read.
Yeah, I'll keep most of it under wraps, but it should be a pretty interesting story if we can get everything worked out the way I'm wanting it to. And yeah, just stay tuned for it. It should be out within the next little bit at the very least.
Okay, sounds great. Have a fantastic day. Again, subscribe and listen. Turn your notifications on and whether it's YouTube, whether you're on the Twitter or the Spotify or wherever you are. Set your notifications on, and you'll know when we have content. We had like 5 pieces of audio content yesterday for you listening on podcast version. All of that is or will be on YouTube by the end of the day. So have a fantastic Tuesday or whenever you're listening. For Amanda and Ethan, I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.